Okay, so before I say what I'm going to say, realize that this isn't my choice. I'm not doing this because I want to. Today happens to be December 5th, 2024. It's a whiteout in Erie. And, of course, I work at a department store, and they don't care if the weather's that bad. If they don't shut down the highways and there's one or two cars on the road, by golly, you've got to be in there to work. And the funny thing is, we don't have any of the things people call staples, and I'm not going to go too deep into saying anything much about that. Milk, butter, and eggs. We don't have any of them. And first of all, none of those things are staples. I haven't eaten any of those things in years and years and years. Nobody needs them in the first place. But we literally don't have anything left on the shelves, food-wise, because trucks haven't been able to come. We don't have any salt, because, once again, the trucks haven't been able to come. We've got one snow shovel left in the building, and it's starting to get bent. But I have to go out and shovel off these drifted walkways. You can't even see on the road. There's no plows that have gone through. I saw like maybe 6 cars all the way here. And they're probably people just like me having to go to work, and they don't want to. It's not like anybody goes, wow, it's horrible outside. I can't wait to get to work and do something meaningless with my day. And let me risk my life and stress myself out on the way there. Woohoo, this is great. Then the funny part is you've got to call somebody that is referred to by most people as their boss and say, sir or ma'am, it's not very nice outside. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it. And they'll say something like, well, we're going to need you to, and if not, then I'm going to have to write you up. And you go, oh man, I don't want to get written up. Don't want to lose my livelihood. Literally the kind of shit that everybody has to deal with on a day in, day out basis, especially when it gets to be in conditions like this and areas like this. It upsets me knowing that most people aren't allowed to have the say-so in their life. If I tell a person, it's horrible outside and I don't want to go in, and they would say, well then don't. Aren't you your own boss? Well, yeah, I am. But unfortunately, because I'm involved with all these other people who don't have a spine and won't stand up for themselves, I'm stuck in a whole bunch of situations, just like many people are. They're stuck. Unlike me, they may not notice how stuck they are, and then when they do, it's even more overwhelming than the way they feel right now. And what are we supposed to do about that? There are piles upon piles of things that need worked on and fixed. Where do we start? 1, stop doing meaningless things with our time. Stop having businesses that mean nothing. Those are the steps that we do to start. After that, we do a lot of other things, and I don't want to go too far on a tangent in this video. Say things like science, what we're doing out in the world. All of that stuff has to be cut back or brought to a halt. All we're doing is tampering with the environment that allows us to live. And there's no reason for anyone to say, well, we have to do all these scientific studies and we have to do all these experiments in the sky and with the weather. Now we have this really horrible weather going on. It's that time of year for this area, sure. But there's still no reason for any of that extra stuff being done. Let nature take its course. That's the best way for anything to happen naturally. Maybe we've done a lot of wrong, and maybe we have to suffer our repercussions instead of trying to fix them so that we can keep making more mistakes or keep doing it on purpose. You can't really call it a mistake when people are purposely doing what they're doing. Now, can I find anyone who actually is frustrated enough with the world the way it is to realize that the only thing to do now is to change and to be the one making your own changes? I'll gladly help. But unfortunately, for now, I guess I gotta go out and try shoveling off these stupid walkways for the people who aren't going to be coming today. I'm sure you probably heard that ding, which is when the door opens. And that's just because the wind is blowing so much, it's opening the door. Woohoo! Let me go out and get frozen boogers and frostbite so I can shovel off sidewalks. So people might be able to come and get 50% off some of their Christmas supplies. Oh boy, here we go. Let me jump into everyone else's make-believe. Don't you feel the same way most of the time? If you haven't, maybe hearing it will bring it to your attention, and you'll start seeing how reality has been constructed for you. Let me give you one last good sniffle. Coming in from outside, shoveling off the walkways, I gotta mention that nobody has been through to plow the driveway or the parking lot either. So it's most likely that no one's going to show up because they can't get in the driveway. And I'll be damned if I'm going to go out and shovel a whole parking lot. It's been 45 minutes since the store opened. Usually we have at least 10 people by now on a normal day. The last couple of days since people knew the whiteout storm was coming, there was $1,000 cash drop by noon. So there was just hundreds of people in here. So most people have already stocked up and gotten prepared. If you didn't, you're a nimwit. And then you got the people that, like me, I enjoy the weather outside. The only thing I can't stand about it is having to go work for some meaningless job and risk yourself driving there in a vehicle that could cause you to be killed because you're driving in roadways and conditions that shouldn't be driven on. But you're doing it so that you can go do a stupid job. That's what people hate about the winter. Yeah, they also hate the feeling of being cold when they don't want to be. But if you can find ways to enjoy the blessing of weather, then you can really have a good time in this season. Like I said before, we need to find a way to get people to stop tampering with the weather and try to start being a more natural society or a more natural civilization. And until then, we're always going to have problems that don't seem to make sense because it's an experiment. And when you do experiments, you have all kinds of variables that you can't predict. And that's what we're doing with our own lives. And each individual happens to be a guinea pig that doesn't know that they are. When you start knowing that that's how you're looked at by a lot of people, it'll really get you frustrated unless you don't value yourself very much. And because I value life, and you happen to be part of it, I value you. And I want you to have the chance to actually live a good life, and not the way that we broadcast it on media. I'm talking about a truly good life, where you find who you are, and you find that there's a lot more here to be learned by living than making money and doing what other people have told you. One thing I can't leave out is how I mentioned that a lot of people enjoy this weather, as do I. But when somebody comes into a store and starts saying, well, I like this weather, so blah, 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 it's no big deal to me, that's one thing. But when you think about the fact that people had to come in, prepare this place, shovel off the walkways, somehow find a way to get into this place driving in order to be here so that you can come buy your stuff, it adds more details to that. I enjoy this weather. You see what I'm saying? So the people that are doing that, it's almost the same kind of comparison as what the people in our past and what our ancestors have done for us to have the conveniences we have now. In order for somebody to have something that they like, or to have this convenience where they can just walk in and grab something, buy it, and leave, other people have to come in and go out of their way to do things so that that's possible. So yes, I do enjoy this weather, but having to come into a place that I don't want to be, to give people things that are actually poisonous for them or supporting make-believe is really annoying, and it's insulting to somebody who's really awake and wants to do the right thing. Although the main concern of today is the weather for the people driving around in it. Here at the workplace, one of the things to do today was to go through the fresh damages. And when we say fresh damages, it's basically looking through the coolers to find what's out of date. And I found things out of date, probably, I don't know, $90 to $100 worth of, say, Lunchables and lunch makers and hot dogs and sliced deli meats, which really just turns my stomach in the first place. But there are American and ham, American and bologna, turkey and cheddar, beef franks, sliced turkey and sliced smoked ham. And when I look at that and I see a little slice of cheese and a little stack of ham, along with either turkey or bologna, and then a little piece of cheese with a little crunch bar or a little Butterfinger, you know the kid just wants to get that thing for the Butterfinger or the cookie or the cracker or the snack that's in it. But they're going to munch down the other stuff too if they're a good boy or girl and they eat it all up like mommy or daddy say to. And they're munching on a dead animal. Now, a lot of this stuff ends up getting thrown away on top of all of it. So there's $90 to $100 worth of just the packages of things. But those were lives. Those were living animals that had no reason to even be bred into existence just to be slaughtered. If we're going to treat the world with respect, that's not what we're doing by living this way. And it's frustrating that other people will keep defending it because they don't want to be moral people and extend that right to life to other things that happen to be alive. And we as people need to stop tampering with living things and breeding them into existence and playing God. Like I've said before, and I'll say a million times, God, or the living energy that is, happens to be playing all of us. We're not trying to be it. All we can do here in the physical world is work together and make this whole thing better, instead of breaking off into groups and trying to outdo or manipulate people, or trying to be the one powerful ruler of them all. That's the way that we destroy ourselves. It seems to be man against man this day and age. or woman against woman, or woman against man, everyone out for themselves. That's not what it has to be. In life, in general, we all feel alone to some degree. But we are not alone. We're here together. And staying on the topic I started with, what we're doing to the animals and how we just disregard them and throw them away. Nobody wanted to buy this lunch maker with a Nestle Crunch, some crackers, and a little stack of ham and cheese. It's disgusting. And we should not be raising our children to keep doing this. Now this one that I'm about to say kind of hits home pretty close. Because I've always been this kind of person until I woke up. And when I use that phrase, I'm not trying to use it the way it's been used out in the world, because the woke movement is a joke. But when I happened to really see the light, all of this changed. I used to be one of those people who would be like, no matter the rain, the sleet, the snow, I'm there. I'm a workaholic and I can get the job done. So people loved me. Every job I went to, I was the Danimal. I was the guy to go to. I was the crew leader, the foreman, the guy in charge, the manager. Every job I've ever been at. And I'm not just saying that. You could look through my record if you want to. I have nothing to hide. With that aside, being this whiteout today, there was a guy who came in yesterday, and it was really horrible yesterday too. Everyone was coming in because they were complaining about how bad it was and how there was all these accidents and all this stuff going on. And this one guy that works across the street at a landscape supply place that really doesn't have anything to do in the winter, they're just an empty parking lot with one car parked there, walks over a lot. And he's got a wide jaw with the kind of circles, like he's got a wad of cud in there. Not saying it to make fun of him, but when you discuss somebody's traits, sometimes by explaining them, it sounds like you're making fun of them, and I'm not. He's a hefty guy with like that wad in both his cheeks. He's got a wide jaw, and he comes in and he'll grab an armload of stuff and walk across the road with a whole bunch of stuff in his hands, like, yeah, I'm a tough guy that can carry a whole bunch of stuff, which, whatever, I did the same kind of thing. And with that attitude of, I'm a workaholic and I'll get the job done no matter what, you can depend on me. He has that attitude, and he came in and he was like, man, I don't care. If I'm needed to work, I come in to work. And I'm like, yeah, but the point is, what are we doing? Do you need to be there? Is the world going to just crumble because you weren't here to stand in a place waiting for someone to show up, for you to sell them something? No, you weren't. We've just been trained so well, as I was, to do the job and get the job done without asking any questions. And now, it truly is time to ask questions. This applies to someone just down the road. She's an older lady, one of the bartenders at the bar, comes through all the time, and she's like, oh, people these days don't have that work ethic. I was always raised to have a proper work ethic and make sure that you're there and you're responsible and you're on time and punctual and you get the job done and you follow all the procedures. And I'm like, if you really listen to yourself, it's just like saying, I do things by the book because I was trained really well and I follow instructions. That's not really something to commend. Oh boy, great for you, I may have got my first customer of the day 2 hours in. Who knows? It might just be the doors opening. But I'm going to go check. So before I end this little part, it's more or less, I have nothing against a person with a good work ethic. In fact, I have a rock solid work ethic. But I'm trying to work towards doing things that are needed in the world, and there are a lot of them. And I am definitely willing and more than able to get some things done that we all need done. Now, where are the people who want to join somebody who gives a shit about them and wants to help them be better people with a better life? Otherwise, find that list of meaningless tasks you've got to perform, and once you get them done, I'll give you a nice big gold star for being such a good person. Oh boy. Good work. Keep it up. Right? To keep going along with the Whiteout Workday, we've had 4 customers so far, and they all came in about the same time, 10:35. The first car pulled in, sat there for a while. Another car pulled in, and another car pulled in, and then finally somebody actually came in and bought something. And the first guy was a really heavy guy with a camouflage coat, and he came and he bought 2 things of pop, some chips, and he was looking for peppermints for his horse. Then he got 2 bags of cheese and sticks, little dippy sticks that you dip in the cheese. And this guy had to have been 50. With gray beard, out in a whiteout to get some junk food. And then the next person was a really heavy lady. She came up and she got Drake's Devil Dogs, Cool Ranch Doritos, barbecued pork rinds, and Lay's barbecue potato chips. That's all she got. So people are coming out in a storm, a superstorm, basically to get junk. The next people came and they got a bag of cat food, which, hey, maybe their cat needed to eat. There you go. And then they got 4 6-packs of Pepsi and some Nerds gummies. And that's it. The next guy comes in and gets 2 boxes of donuts. And he's like, how's it going, man? I'm like, I'm all right. How are you? He's living the dream. You? And I'm like, I'm awake. And he goes, that's good. One of us has to be. And I said, yeah, I feel like I'm the only one who is. And no disrespect. I was like, but people are just poisoning themselves. He happened to be getting the ones with the chocolate glaze that hardens and doesn't melt in the sun, which is one of the worst foods you can possibly eat. And you can look it up. There's one specific video that has it actually in it. Not that I'm trying to promote anybody, but it's called The Biblical Nutritionist, and it has the top 7 foods that one shouldn't eat. And like I said, I'm not trying to promote somebody's site, but at least goes into the details of why it's bad for you. I could tell you, but no one takes anyone's word for it unless they've got some kind of study that shows it. My study is understanding, knowing, experience. That's my study. So therefore, to me, that's much more valuable when it's a hands-on experience than just hearing it from some scientist who says, hey, this is what the studies say, and we were paid to say this, you know? Not trying to say that that's what happens every time, but either way. When I'm telling this guy that we need to come together, and he goes, you're right, man, we do. And I said, but we can't do it individually. We've got to come together. He's like, yeah, we got to set up some kind of union. That's not the answer, not a union. I mean, sure, a communion together, but not some kind of written down, documented union. That's the issue, is that we're trying to make everything professional. And nature is not professional. Nature is actual. Now let's go put some actual things into action instead of just talking about it. That's what I'm trying to do, but I can't do it alone. How is that hard for people to understand? I guess I'm going to wrap up this Whiteout Workday stuff and just finish out the rest of the day.